Hello everyone, I'm Macy and I'm a senior in the Hamblen County School System. Today, I and a few other students have come to talk to you about how we are handling this coronavirus pandemic. If you haven't heard already, right now the CDC and Health Department are both recommending something called social distancing amid this pandemic. Social distancing just means staying away from large crowds and mass gatherings, which is why school has been called off for a few weeks. But this isn't just a break off from school to hang out with friends and go on trips. Social distancing also means staying away from groups of 10 people or more. However, the best way to protect yourself and others from this virus is to stay home as much as possible. It is our personal responsibility as students and members of the community to prevent the spread of this virus. There is some talk suggesting that this virus only affects older people, but this is not accurate and doesn't make us students immune to the virus. This virus can still jeopardize anyone's health. While the death rate is higher among the most mature age group, it is also high in those with immune disorders, lung diseases, diabetes, and asthma. These groups include many of your classmates. It is our obligation to help and protect those in the high-risk groups by social distancing. It is important to realize how large of an impact we can each have as individuals. This diagram makes it a lot easier to see how the actions of one person can entirely change the spread of the virus. One person staying home from a gathering or not hosting an event affected hundreds of other people, and it doesn't take much to do so. So what is the point of this social distancing? The goal of all of these objectives, like staying home, canceling school, and delaying other large events, is to flatten the curve. Previous pandemics and outbreaks have followed the pattern of the bell curve, which I'm sure most of you have heard about in your math classes. This means that the spread of the virus is naturally exponential and will reach a large peak and then exponentially decrease. But with social distancing and other preventative measures, we can slow the growth of the virus, delay the peak of infection, and lower the overall number of people infected. We must heed these warnings and take preventative measures now, rather than later, to effectively slow the growth of this virus. I know it's hard to stay isolated from your friends right now, especially as a senior. You want to spend as much time with your friends as possible this second semester. However, lives could be impacted by your decision to go out and gather in groups. It's not just your friends that you encounter, but the parents, grandparents, and guardians that they go home to. I saw a post recently that suggested we shouldn't treat the situation like we are trying to avoid infection, but rather as if we are already infected and trying to avoid transmission to others. This is a great way to think about how your social distancing impacts others. Many times in the middle of crises, we think the best way to defeat the enemy is to continue our lives as normal. But in this situation, it's very different. The best way for all of us to confront and defeat the coronavirus is to temporarily change how we live our lives. If we are vigilant about our preventative measures, we might be able to shorten this period of isolation and separation. Social distancing now can help us to have the summer we wanted. But we have to give some to take some. Now some of my peers will tell you how we can stay connected and motivated during this time.
Hey, my name is Dalton Miksa and I'm a senior in Hamblen County. While I know it's incredibly tempting to use this break as a time to hang out with friends, the points Macy brought up about viral transmission, flattening the curve, and social distancing are extremely important. This virus has brought the world to a screeching halt, but that doesn't mean it has to stop us too. While yes, it is important to stay at home and away from others, it is also important that we stay connected through social distancing. For those of us who have stayed home, the struggle of borderline social isolation is evident, but we have to remember that we are all isolated together. It's about how we choose to see this situation. If we let social distancing turn into social isolation, our time at home from now till April 24th will be lonely and honestly depressing. This is why it's important to still connect with friends, relatives, and significant others through this extended break. From a distance, of course. The tool that is most helpful for this, and that I'm sure you all know about, is social media. I'm sure many of you have seen the recent influx of challenges posted to Instagram where people post embarrassing pictures or photos of themselves they like. This is just one example of staying connected through social distancing. And I think we can all learn from this. We can use this time to show people a side of us they may not see, to open up ourselves more to others. I would also encourage you to reach out to someone new every few days. Make sure they're okay physically and mentally, and encourage them to reach out to someone new as well. Humans are social creatures, and when we have our primary means of socialization stripped away from us due to a virus, we are all bound to go a little crazy. So reach out to someone, anyone, and just talk. It doesn't have to be your best friend. In fact, make it someone you don't interact with much. Get to know someone new, acquire a new perspective, whether it be just on the virus or on life in general. It's time we utilize this break to not only lift ourselves up, but others as well. The best way we can do this is implement a schedule for our day-to-day lives. I won't talk too much about this because Jacob will expand upon it later, but in a Forbes article, John Hull explains schedules, calendars, and time management are three of the most criminally underused ways of increasing our professional and personal success. So maybe we can take what we learn on this break and apply it to our normal lives. I'm not just talking about a schedule, I'm talking about everything. Maybe we'll stop taking our time with others for granted. Maybe we'll show more compassion towards others, even strangers. Maybe when we think we're bored, we will remember this break. And maybe, just maybe, we'll learn how to conserve toilet paper.
Hello, I'm Jacob Seals, and I'm a senior in Hamblen County. Now, I have a less technical and more personal message for you. Before I say anything, I want to tell my fellow students that we are here for each other. If you ever need help with school, life, or anything else, you can contact the three of us. I'll give you our Instagram since it's something most students have. Macy's is mac.y.danielle. Dalton's is Dalton Miksa, and mine is Jacob_Seals. Message us if you need anything. You can also message your teachers through Schoology if you ever need help with homework. It's important to know that you are not alone through all of this, and your grades do not have to suffer. Now, we're going through a phase that the world has never had to go through before. For all of us, it's confusing, it's worrying, and it's challenging. While we're in this waiting period, it's easy to forget about self-care and keeping yourself working. I challenge you to make a healthy schedule for yourself as we go through this. Wake up at 8 a.m. and take a walk. At 10 a.m., get your schoolwork done. At 1 p.m., watch your favorite show for 2 hours. You can make it exactly how you want. Just make sure you have something to follow every day. It's important that we keep ourselves physically and mentally healthy. For those of you fortunate enough to have a good home with plenty of food and resources to keep you going, use this time to appreciate the life you have outside of work, school, and COVID-19. Make sure you realize that there are many people that need our help. The elderly, the families who don't have food, parents and students who have lost their jobs. This is significantly harder on them. The only way we can combat these negative effects is by connecting as a community. Dalton explained how to stay connected, so I won't get too much into the details. But I will say that if we, Hamblen County, watch each other's backs and unify in our efforts, we can get through this safely. We can prevent the sickness, help those in need, and get our lives back. If you're a senior who wants to walk across that stage, make sure you stay home. If you're a parent who wants their job back, make sure you're preventing spread. And if you're someone who needs help, make sure you reach out. The way we can get our normal lives back while minimizing the damage is to come together and follow the guidelines. You individually hold so much power. Macy explained it best. If one person stays home, it can mean 20 people not getting the virus later on. Every decision you make will affect your community. We're living in a time where it takes all of us to succeed, but only a few of us to fail. You can and will make a difference, so make sure every decision you're making is the safe one. This may be a bad time, but let's take the opportunity to make it a better one. Whether that's making a fun schedule, reaching out, or making safe decisions, we can make this time of isolation a time of reflection, recovery, and support.